Time now 6:04 p.m. and I'll call for our regular McMinnville Strategy Board of Directors meeting on June 26th at 4 p.m. First of those roll call of directors.
President Gardner.
Here.
Vice President Smith is absent. Secretary Pratt.
Here.
Treasurer Trapp, he may be coming online. He's on duty, so.
Yeah, he's logging in now.
Okay. Director Sparrow.
Present.
If you could let us know in the box, that would be great.
All right, next up we have the Pledge of Allegiance on our old train chief. So
I allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you for that. Next up, changes to the agenda.
We do, President Garvin, we do have one addition, McMinnville Fire District Resolution 2025-03. That it is or will be in regards to our trend that we discussed today.
Thank you. Any changes? Hearing none further changes, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is our minutes from our May 29th, 2025 public hearing and regular meeting. And let the record show that Treasurer Travis is going to be at 6:06 p.m. If directors have had a moment to review the minutes, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make that motion.
Motion by Secretary Pratt, and then second.
Second.
Second by Treasurer Pratt. Thank you, gentlemen. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let it show contingent passes with a vote of 4-0. Next up, we have our financial report, which is our June P&L. I'll refer you to your packet. And Noah's not here, so we'll call on Chief about anything you'd like to share.
Thank you. It's the last page of your packet. Just a couple notes for you. We did carry over a significant amount of more money than we had projected. A lot of that was just making sure that we saved towards the end of the fiscal year, just being kind of fiscally responsible from May on, and making sure we had a good beginning fund balance. Treasurer Trapp, did you have a question?
Sorry, I'm on. I'll mute my side here.
Just thought you had a question. So that's obviously good news for our beginning fund balance. And then we'll talk about the Tran loan once we get to the action.
All right, any questions for Chief Godfrey on the June P&L? Hearing none, we'll move to our public comment period. With the moment of the meeting for any citizens to speak regarding the district business, we have not to exceed 3 minutes. Do anybody on Zoom, raise your hand. I don't see anybody on Zoom. And anybody in the crowd? No. Thank you. I'll close public comment. Business action items. We have item A, which is approval of a revised resolution 2025-02A. I believe this should clean up a technical error and policy request.
I will pass the buck to, let's see.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. President, you're correct that this corrects a Scribner's error at the top of page 3, where the board accepts the tax rates for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. The prior resolution noted this as 2024 to 2025. There are no other changes.
First update fiscal year.
Correct.
Any questions for your Administrative Services Director T? Hearing none, I entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2025-02A as presented.
I make said motion.
Thank you, Director Farrow. And a second,
Second.
second by Secretary Pratt. Thank you, gentlemen. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Let the record show resolution 2025-028 passes 4-0. Next up, we have item B, which is our LoSAP contribution of $50,227, and I'll call on Administrative Service Director Michelle T. to brief that.
Sure, thank you. This is the program that funds benefits for our volunteers. And the invoice that we have is to make a contribution to that fund. That fund is currently 88% funded. That's a little bit low, but not shockingly low. Most funds are around 90%, a little bit higher than 90%. So we are recommending that we pay this invoice and in order to bolster that account.
And just point of clarification, this is because it's over 50,000, which is the $50,000 spending authority of the fire chief. So that's why it comes to the board.
All right. Were you able to hear that on Zoom? Any questions for Michelle or Chief?
I missed what the total was. I'm sorry.
$50,227. The reason that it's in front of us tonight is it's $227 over the chief's signing authority.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Yes, I just one clarification. That's to bring us up to the 90%.
No, I just offered the information with respect to the current funding level and where retirement funds or benefit funds are typically funded. The point is just we're a little bit low, so we wouldn't want to skip this payment.
Copy that. Thank you.
All right, any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. With resolution or
Just to pay it though.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to pay the LoSAP contribution of $50,000, $227. To bring us up to a more sustainable funding level.
I make that motion.
Thank you, Director Sparrow. Second.
Second.
Second by Treasurer Trav. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Now we have item C, a 3-year annual maintenance contract for HVAC service. And call on Chief Godfrey to brief us on that.
Thank you, President Garvin. This one is a little bit more of an informational, but we put it on here in case you so choose to act. So with Station 15, we went out and got some bids from HVAC vendors for maintenance, repair, and annual maintenance. This is a 3-year contract, just over $50,000. So although I'm not exactly sure that you need to vote on it because it is over 50,000, it's not 50,000 a year, just so we're clear. I thought I'd bring it to your attention. I don't personally know if you need to act on it, but it is over 50,000 over 3 years. So it's a standard contract. It's the same company we've used in the past here at Station 1, but it now includes both stations, Station 1 and 15, which is the reason for the change. So
So it does include both stations?
it does both stations. That's why the increase in amount. So again, it's not 50,000 a year. But it is a 50,000, it's just over, it's like $51,000 contract. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. If you want to vote to move, or ask questions, you could, but I don't necessarily know if it's necessary.
Agreed.
So since it's not $50,000 a year, and it's not gonna be $50,000 expended in one fiscal year, because you're gonna make that three separate payments. Correct. We're not legally obligated to vote on it.
Correct.
But we didn't want any misunderstanding. It is a $51,000 bill. So,
And as it, you said you put it out to bid, there's a couple of bids that we,
yeah, we had, yes, Hunter, Southland, who does here, and did we get the third?
We're getting.
But all of them have been in the ballpark, so we know it's gonna be.
Good.
But again, not per year.
and how long has Southland been servicing station one?
Chief or chief?
It's probably been about 6 or 7 years, would be my guess.
Been happy to see there, and then response to
Yeah, and it's, they're also local, and the other company that was being used at the 3850 facility is not, and although the bill, or the bid, excuse me, is around the 50,000 mark, they, charge travel time because we're out of district. And so that's what kind of cued us to look. And this Southland does utilize the same exact,
territory.
and they're familiar with the system that we have on our. So it's a little quicker response, as well as we won't pay the out of area travel.
They installed a couple of the units too, a few years ago when we had to put units up. That was,
Station one.
Yeah, and they also, that was another thing, is they kept the lower price here at Station One, since we had a 50, so it was actually a savings to the people. It's the same thing we did for the landscaping contract. We looked out, did all as one.
And even since it's not over 50,000 a year, we don't need to vote on it.
Yeah, my thoughts would be, if it's not over 50,000, we don't need to vote on it, and it. You guys would like to vote on, I'm open to that, but I would, if we're gonna do that, then it's no longer an administrative decision, and we need to see all three bids in a packet, to be able to know what we're voting. But we won't be voting tonight, but I'm fine with it being an administrative decision, knowing it's around 15,000-16,000. Any thoughts, Treasurer Trav, or Director Trav?
Nope, no thoughts here.
Thank you.
None here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, the administrative position for chief, whatever Frederick feels best. That takes us to our other business, board committee and liaison report. First up, we have closed staff, and I'll call on Treasurer Trav. Do you have anything to share outside of,
Point of order.
Sorry, we did have the one addition.
never mind, we got one more action item.
That's okay.
Yep. Probably most important one of the night. 2025-03 is a resolution. It's pretty much a housekeeping item, our tram loan that we use for our transitional funding, I'll call on.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this is a resolution prepared by the lender's attorneys for us. So it meets all the requirements that the lender would need. It is essentially the same resolution that was required last year. The gist of this is that it commits district funds to repay the loan, and there's authorization in here for chief and the board president and others who they direct to execute the necessary documents to complete the loan.
So this is the same one we did last year through SCAO. That just bridges our our operational funding, total our tax payment, November, December-ish. Any questions or discussions from the board?
I read through it and I didn't see any provisions about early payoff, whether there's gonna be a fee or not.
There is not.
In your agreement, there is.
There is.
I would assume there is.
After we were able to pay off our loan,
Our,
Want to make sure it's continuing.
ours, yeah, the intent and the discussion is exactly the same as last year. Because our intent, as we discussed with them, is to pay it off on or about December 1st. With our first round of taxes, which is what we did last year. And I did not read, did you?
I did.
Did you read that? What a minute. Did you see anything of a early payoff?
No, and Mr. Secretary, this resolution is just approval from the board to go forward with the loan. It's not intended to set out the terms of the loan.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm there was gonna be no penalty.
That's the discussion we've had. And we won't pay if there is.
would you like that as an amendment that we want to make sure that there's no early payoff penalty?
I think it's history serves, we've done okay paying it off early without any penalty. As long as nothing's changed in the plan. Yeah. Should be good.
We just lost the piece there.
I don't remember.
While you're doing that, just quick point of order. So we can't amend this because this is from the attorneys.
Uh-huh.
You could direct me, your expectations, of the desire to have no loan, early loan payoff. And I could do that. But this would have to either be approved or denied. Because this is their language, not ours.
Yeah.
But you could subsequently direct me to do the, make sure that the terms are as.
Yeah, this cause a unnecessary delay.
No, it would not. It would if we didn't pass this tonight, but it would not, to give good direction, no, that would.
So right now we don't have a form, so we can't vote on this.
Get back.
We're gonna table this because there's not a motion on the table right now. And we'll come back, it looks like there's a traffic on a medical call, not too far from station 20. So it'll be back, and I don't know where Director Swear is called, but I can see that part. Board committee and liaison reports. Director T, do you have anything to share on this stuff? And then Treasurer Crab and Chief Lauer, nuclear.
Sure. I don't have any updates. We are in the process, thank you, Mr. President. We are in the process of reestablishing relationships between the finance manager and myself and assisting members with benefits for right now.
Okay.
Board meeting's canceled.
But keep it there, Better new board member in the audience, we need to make sure that.
I could. Well, you can use commercial protection.
Next up, we have branding. I don't believe we have anybody here from Oh, Janet, do you have anything new happening on the brand committee?
No, I don't think we haven't had any meetings, so I'm not sure we have much kind of on tap. We got the badges, the challenge coins. Those were the last couple things we were working on.
Yeah.
So I think next would be is if we wanted the committee to take an overarching look at brand, but there's not necessarily a driver for that. So right now the committee's sort of on inactive steps.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Couple updates. We have all vehicles completed now. Candella's, Deputy Fire Marshal Candella's vehicle is in service. Thank you. We have one more vehicle, and that's the white pickup. That's the last vehicle we have. Everything else is completed. And we just completed a couple weeks ago the skirts around the signs. So now the signs are complete. They've been completed for a while, just not complete. So that's done. The only other thing the branding committee started to look at was helmet shields. But they don't say McMinnville Fire Department or District, they just say McMinnville. So it was decided to just hold off on that for now. We may look at it in the future, but there's also some discussion, I think even somewhat countywide, of helmet colors, you know, potentially passport colors and such. So rather than money into it, we are holding off.
Any questions on that? We'll move to forward information to forward. Got anything to share? I'll share it because it was shared at the council on Tuesday. We're ripping into the Christmas tree bill, House Bill 5006. It's not been formally passed, but it looks like it has a pretty clear path, providing that there's no walkouts or major session disruptions. So it looks like all the work staff has done, Donna setting up meetings, and Janine helping with packets, and Chief Godfrey and I, Treasurer Traskman and Tamara Capital, should have some fruits of our labor to tune of about $3.1 million. So, no, it's been a roller coaster ride, which I always knew going to be from the outset, but I always mentioned you come back with something, and I don't think it has more than just build a relationship. So, I'm gonna count my chickens before they hatch, but looks like we might have the money for the district for the station. Thanks to our Elmer and her team over there, Jessica, everybody that has helped us out along the way. So, and our letter of support from Mayor Morris, the county commissioners, everybody else has been a part of this very long years process. So was definitely not on my radar when we started this fiscal year, but glad we looked like we had rewards of it. Department reports. 099 volunteers aren't here. Obviously, they're on call, but we'll come back to them if they get back before we're done. And what you've always wanted, fire chief, you get as long-winded as possible.
I have a few training. Well, before I get into that, I'm going to start, maybe buy us some time, but Chief Law's in the audience, and Chief Law's last day with McMinnville was after 25 years was Sunday, the 22nd. Chief Law has accepted a position as the fire chief in Dayton, which is speaks of his desire to move forward. And I personally and publicly wanted to thank Chief Law for all of his dedication, and I would say tireless dedication. Chief Law was not someone who just worked Monday through Friday 8 to 5. In fact, I don't know as much as he worked 8 to 5 as he did every other hour of the day. Calls in the middle of the night, and academies on Saturdays and Sundays, and pancake feeds, breakfast, Christmas lights, driving the ladder truck for the Santa Claus. I could probably go the rest of the night, but I won't. he'll be sorely missed here as an individual, not just as a chief officer, but as a member of the department and the community. Someone who came through the ranks as a volunteer and then came through the ranks as a career person. So he's got big shoes to fill, both figuratively and literally, actually. So again, I want to personally thank him. Give the board the opportunity to say anything they would like to also, but again, Chief Laws kept us, kept our volunteers especially engaged and accountable, like no one else I've ever seen. How it's put together and how well it was put together, and he knew who was on what call and how many calls and how many drills, and making sure that our firefighters were safe, that they were well trained, and he put all that on his back with, I'll just be frank, very little help, across the county and even in our organization. So thank you, Chief Law. Thank you for everything you've done, all the ancillary things that you've done to the fire district. Don't think you're going to hide from us, because we still know where you work, and currently we know where you live. But we'll track you down, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Correct.
God, going back to when I went through an academy and you were helping teach us then, and to the storm calls, and we'd be on Zoom 14 all day and going from call to call to call, and all those calls pending, and you were the person that if you respond to a call, you always do. While it's going to be here, hopefully we were taking the truck, but he would get on any piece of apparatus. And never were, always made sure we were safe. You were never demeaning or over the top aggressive in making sure that we were safe. So I know those thoughts have been shared from other volunteers that I've known over the years. So that wasn't just a one-off thing with me. And you're always fair. So thank you for all you've done for the organization and the 20 years I've known you. From when I volunteered down here, and still be missed, but I'm excited to see what you do with Davey, and happy with the footing you're doing us off with the cadet program and all the work you've done with that.
Thank you, President.
Let's go to ops. Can you do anything?
Yeah, I can share a bit. We're wrapping up on our last week of academy. So we've got 4 people still in the academy. I think we talked a little bit at some point about having a little bit of an expedited academy for a couple of our attendees. So 2 of our new hires essentially had been with us at one point in the organization and then came to us from Sheridan. We felt because they already had experience in the area that we could essentially cut their time down to a 2-week academy. They came back and performed their final benchmarks, their fire benchmarks out on drill ground, and we've gotten all 6 of our new hires through all of their fire benchmarks to the point that they'll be able to make entry. They'll still have more benchmarks to complete throughout the year, but in a good space there. And then they also had a week of EMS time, and during that week were able to complete their first EMS benchmark, which typically we do towards the end of their first quarter. But spent quite a bit of time getting them to a point where they're all able to pass being a lead on a cardiac arrest call. So seeing some very positive performance from each of them. Certainly Chief Law put in quite a bit of time of putting the academy schedule together and lining up all of the instructors throughout the organization. We've had a lot of support towards this effort. So very excited to get some people cleared and on the line. And this will bring us up to being just 1 person shy, essentially, for our staffing.
We do not have a report for prevention. We'll go into training here, but before I start, Chief Law, do you want to update it and you can post some any updates or things you can think of for training?
No, I think Japan can touch the big focus this month was the academy and getting that taken care of, and so that's finishes tomorrow. So.
Thank you. Also on the training note, I want to take a minute to introduce Chief Schoaf. Aaron Schoaf is our interim training chief. He is stepping into Chief Law's shoes. This is an interim position. And this is to kind of give us the ability to kind of see what we're going to do in the future, whether we're going to stick with the model that we currently have, reorganize, those type of things. Chief Schoaf grew up here in McMinnville. He started his career here in McMinnville, worked here as a career employee from 98 to 2003. Aaron's first day was technically today, but I think we had him for about 8 hours yesterday. He has a lot of experience, not just from McMinnville, went to the city of Salem for 20 years, retired, and we brought him back from his retiree gig. So I'm not sure what the McMinnville School District is going to do next year without the number one substitute teacher in Yamhill County, but we brought him here to teach and help bridge that gap that Chief Law has left. So I want to introduce him, tell him welcome, and if you got anything to say or.
No, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Like Reed said, today was first full day, so I spent most of the day with the academy. I know they've been going all month, but I was impressed with how they were doing. Everybody got benchmark checked off as far as the one we had to get finished up, but I was very impressed with how it was set up, how it was run. They did a very good job. So again, I don't have a whole lot to say because this is my first day. But I'm happy to be here and, you know, try to make the rounds and get around the next couple of weeks to meet everybody, spend a little time with everybody and kind of get a better feel for what's going on. I'm just kind of trying to wade through it. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on board and enroll important. Let's keep the organization moving forward without just, treading water. So appreciate you bringing your expertise online and your ability to teach and connect with young and recruits we have coming through thank you.
On the admin, President Garvin, you got a couple of mine. We already talked about the tram loan and the state money, so I won't belabor the point. I will remind everybody though, on the state money, it's not a done deal until it hits both floors. Then the money goes to the emergency board, in which then they allocate them. So the way it was stated the other night, I want to make sure that it's understood because I've got a ton of questions that, although I do agree with President Garvin, we're sitting in a very good position, until the money hits the bank. I just want to caution everybody, there are still steps to move forward, but we will be ready. Conflagrations, I just kind of wanted to update everybody because this is pretty crazy. As you know, we already had a conflagration in 2025 back in January that Chief Law led a group of individuals down to California on Engine 14. And in the first couple of weeks of June, McMinnville Fire District has deployed on 2 additional conflagrations in the state of Oregon. One, Chief Burton as the task force leader for Yamhill County Task Force, and the other one, Brush 1, on a separate task force over Central Oregon. I tell you that for 2 reasons. One, Brad, our mechanic, has worked very hard to get all of our rigs up and running and ready to go. We're better prepared this year for conflagrations and vehicles and such than we have been in the past. The hiring of the 6 individuals has really helped us with staffing. We still will utilize, we still do and will utilize our volunteers for conflagrations also. So I think we're well prepared, although we didn't get the state money for the summer upstaffing grant from the Office of State Fire Marshal. We still will be deploying on conflagrations. I think I talked about this last year, but we don't just say yes to conflagrations here at McMinnville. Chief Hannafin will be taking over for Chief Law's position. She'll be notified of the conflagration request. She'll check her resources and her staffing, and it'll ultimately come to me, and I'll check it from a fiscal perspective, as well as making sure that I'm comfortable district-wide before we leave. So we'll work together as a team. Chief Law did that before and worked well with both Chief Hannafin and myself, and continue to do that. But I do fear that this is going to be a very busy summer, both locally as well as around us. So we are talking at the Fire Defense Board level of some potential opportunities to work together in the county, whether that be a pre-designated task force, things like that. We're trying to work better together or more closely together as a county. So I fear it's going to be a long summer. We were told at the Fire Defense Board meeting at the Chiefs Conference that August we were going to see some fires. We've already seen, well, there's been multiple, but deployed conflagration, we've already seen 2 in June. So keep your head on the swivel. And that is one more thing. Air show. We are well on the way with our air show this year. We're just finishing up some contractual things. Chief Hannafin is finishing up the IAP. We have met a couple times with the air show representatives. We do have a new person in charge of the air show. His name is Eric. We did give him a tour of Station 15, and we had some discussions on the use of Station 15. I did learn that our back parking lot for the last few years has been what's called the purple lot. So that threw them off guard a little bit, that we will be utilizing that parking lot this year. But we did, I did meet with Chief Wood from the city police department. And we have made the decision we will be moving the incident command post to the fire district's EOC or the fire station, and we'll be managing it out of Station 15. After meeting with the air show, we also are going to be accommodating air show staff up to a month beforehand. Apparently, when they come about a month beforehand and start, setting things up and doing paperwork and those type of things, but they work out of their car. So we offered them a meeting room and a couple of offices at Station 15. Also, after the walkthrough, I will say tentatively, because it's not official yet, but we will be hosting and holding all of the briefings for all of the pilots, the air bosses, and then emergency responders also at Station 15. So we'll be utilizing that this year, which I think will help us kind of have everything in one place, and it'll be a good use of our resource. The city police department, also we gave them access to both fire stations. They now have a personal code for both fire stations. So if a police officer happened to be, out to the east or whatever, and needed to use the restroom or an office or such, Donna provided them a code, and that's been disseminated to the police department. That will also be utilized during the air show for any city staff that's out there that needs a place to come in and cool down or collect or do paperwork or such. So we're working with emergency management for the city, the police department for the city, and of course anybody else out there that needs a place to call home. So remember the dates, maybe by any chance? End of September? Yes, it is. Is the air show. This year it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it is not on a holiday weekend. Which they would never do again. So 26 through 20.
Yay! Okay.
That is all I have, unless there's questions for me.
And you need to like
Swearing in of our new board member and possibly myself. We're gonna do that in our next meeting or early in the month.
Yep. No, I think it would be the next meeting. Unless we had an emergency meeting, then we would swear them in at the emergency meeting, or special meeting, and then so that they could act. We did provide. We did produce and provide a just kind of a board booklet for Dr. Hyder that kind of had our board policies, several months worth of previous meeting minutes and things like that to kind of help bring him up to speed. So yes, his first meeting, he can vote yes on everything.
I don't know if Travis on the risk or the rescue's still up. But I text him. If either one of them come back, then the tram needs to be voted on. Or especially, they'll buy this, this would be.
Well, it'll push it out one.
In the spirit of trying to get form back. 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, I attended a meeting and Chief Godfrey zoomed in, that Commissioner King hosted at the New County facility with the Port Authority, State Rep Sharp, both fire chiefs, most board presidents, I guess most fire chiefs, one of them, I don't know, quantified. Just to talk about the funding mechanisms for fire districts, sustainability of that or lack thereof, especially if on Medicaid, Medicare transport reimbursement rates at the federal level. We had a field rep there from Lee's office, field rep from Merkley's office there, and it was a good discussion, and there was no smoking guns that came out of that, but it's definitely on everybody's radar from the district level all the way up to the federal level on what's the change in Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement rates did in 2005 to today. And in our specific district, the effect that has on our ability to provide fire suppression with that not only write off for our ambulance transport service. And from my personal perspective, the effect that has when we service 5 other counties on 450 or 5 other districts in it. 450 square mile ASA or 98 square miles of tax revenue and taxpayers are technically subsidizing some of those other districts. So to be sustainable and have a better fire suppression effort forward and to be fair to those taxpayers, there has to be a path forward that either the Fed step up and start reimbursing at a fair level and not at a fraction level, or other districts start helping out with the transport costs that would service their district. But that's a longer-winded conversation that we'll have over the coming years, and I don't think anything's gonna be easy. None of them are gonna be quick fixes, so it'll be something that everybody's got to be at the table.
On that same note, we also had a meeting with Senator Merkley's office and several of his Medicare, 2 of his Medicare and Medicaid specialists out of his office. Specific, Chief Hannafin and I were there. Jenny, our billing specialist, was there, and it was along the exact same lines. And that is, at the federal level, which is really where the root of this problem starts. I'll say it in this meeting, just as I said, last year we increased our ambulance billing by almost $4 million. We increased our revenue by just under $1 million, but we still wrote off over $10 million worth of ambulance revenue. And that's not sustainable. And the fire district, to the best, we're still working through this, but the fire district's general fund, the McMinnville taxpayers, are subsidizing the ambulance service by over $3 million annually to keep the ambulance going. It's not sustainable. And to put it in perspective, that's 2 additional engine companies that should be in the city protecting the citizens. And in my opinion, that's probably what the citizens think they're getting when they're paying those taxes. And instead we have one fire engine. So as President Garvin said, the greatest fix would be we'd get the 10 million in revenue for Medicare, Medicaid, predominantly 80% of that write-off is Medicare, Medicaid. But other funding avenues and resources have to be done. We can't sustain paying $3 additional million out of our general fund to subsidize the ambulance. And the way the county's ASA is still written, we still provide medical supplies that are used on calls to our other 5 fire districts or cities that we respond to. The theory behind that 20 years ago made sense, right? They used a nasal cannula, we gave them a nasal cannula, we billed for the nasal cannula. The problem is they use the nasal cannula, we give them the nasal cannula, we bill for the nasal cannula, and we don't get it in return. So it's really, we still have to do that, but we don't get anything. So billing 14 million and getting 4 million, just over 4 million in return is not good business. So we are turning over every rock. We've met with the county, we were meeting with the state, we've Chief Hanneman and her as the vice president on OFCA. Her team is very strategically working hard at the state level, and we are very engaged at the federal. Senator Merkley is very, very engaged in this, as are the others. And he's working with the other offices, Wyden and Salinas, to try and bring something. But this is a long-term fix, but it can't wait long-term to get fixed, because you'll see, you've seen and are seeing, I think Falk has 4 more days in Salem before Salem Fire takes back over. Many of my constituents at the Chiefs Conference are closing ambulances or their ambulances. Sheridan has made the decision to go to 1 ambulance full-time now. They will not be running 2 ambulances. So as those other fire departments, districts, and even ambulance providers start falling off, that will put more, the calls won't go away, the calls are only going up. And it'll put more of a burden on the agencies that are still in service to run those calls, but yet not fiscally get their money returned. So we'll continue to work on it. Rep. Elmer is very engaged also with us at the state level. Her team has been part of those meetings also, as well as. Anything else to add, Chief?
No, so it's a little interesting this legislative session. We had a bill on the table, EMS modernization, and unfortunately that is not going to be moving forward. So that included a study on GEMT specifically, which needs to be done in the state. And also included a 10-year strategic plan to evaluate how we're doing things in the state and to really dig in on some of the challenges we're having with OHA. So with that not moving forward, we kind of have no guiding path at this point. So we'll see what work is able to be done in the future with that. But one of the positive things is there's some legislation on balance billing and holding the insurance companies accountable for commercial side. And that's in a good space and can move forward. So that is a win for us as far as EMS goes.
Thank you for that. I'd add some of the Merkley staff told us about town hall in February that he hosted at Dunaway. It's important to attending town hall to be engaged. Writing your rep, Steve, you might write it 10 times, never hear back. Eventually something sticks, some of that stuff. So now we just have to work the problem for as long as we have their attention. And I also, Rep. Sharp, she's not a direct rep of the McMinnville, but she was a rep for part of our ASA. She was in that meeting that Commissioner King hosted, and she really zeroed in on an educational piece of what people called for a ALS ambulance for 20 years ago is a lot of what they call for an ALS ambulance today. You used to cut your knee open and maybe if it's kneecap or not, your parents are driving to the ER and now it's like the big old thing, well, they need to lift this, they want to go in an ALS ambulance because it's more convenient for the business model of the person that got hurt. So, that did resonate with me that comes with the educational component of the load on the system. But at the root cause of sustainability of it, definitely person. And with that, I'm out of filibuster, so we can legally take a 15-minute break and hope to resume the meeting once one of our 2 board members that are on shift is back in. We'll vote on this tram one future.
Great cost.
All right, we now figure track this call and president via Treasurer Track, Secretary Pratt, myself, and we have resolution 2025-03 tram loan. Treasurer Track, if you get kicked off before we briefed on that.
I was a part of, I'm not sure what I missed, but Ray had some concerns about potential loan payoff early, making sure there's no penalties. And then that's about when I had to go.
So yeah, this is lawyer language in this resolution, so we wouldn't be able to do an amendment tonight, but we could give direction that we want language in there that we can pay off early without penalty, like we have previously, or we could ask the lawyers to turn something around 24 hours, which is highly unlikely.
Yes.
Well, kind of, but the lawyers would not put that, because this is not the terms.
Yeah.
So they would not put that in. It would be in the documents in which this is approving you and I, you or I, to negotiate it.
And we'll most likely have that underwritten by our previous bank we used across the street. So I don't see the terms changing at all, but want to make sure you guys are comfortable with this resolution 2025-03 that gives the chief and I authority to negotiate the terms.
Yes, I am comfortable with that.
All right, anything further from you, our Secretary Pratt? No. All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-03. Our tram loan as presented.
So moved.
Then second,
Second.
we have a motion by Secretary Pratt and a second by Treasurer Trapp. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much for jumping back on. That saved us an emergency meeting.
Absolutely.
And with that, we have next meeting Thursday, July 24th at 6 p.m. Where we'll be swearing in Secretary Pratt to his next term and our new board member, Dr. Todd Hyder, our DMD Todd Hyder to his first term, 4-year term for each of you. With that, I'll arrange next meeting at 7:03 p.m.